to be retired. Sonny was a tremendous player for this organization and really brought a lot of great happiness and joy to our fans. And the team is going to honor him with the retirement this year. So congratulations to Sonny.
You made a handful of moves today. With Gary, is he eligible to come back, or is that?
Well, he's there's a little bit more to it as far as the settlement and all this stuff. So once we get past all that, yes, he will be. But there's some stipulations.
Was that from the game?
No, that was from work.
Okay. I asked you last year about the Ravens' preseason win streak.
Yep.
I'll ask you again this year. Is there even a little tiny bit of you that would feel like that would be an accomplishment?
Yeah, you want to. You go into every game expecting to win. I mean, and good for them. I mean, it's their thing. It's what they're doing. They come out and they play a specific way, and good for them. But our job is to go out and make sure we got guys that are playing and learning and growing and getting better as football players. And like I said, you play every game to win.
The move with Chase today, you kind of suggested back at the start of camp that something like this could happen. So was this just sort of kind of the plan and just procedural at this point?
Well, it was for the most part. I mean, as we go through this, there's hard to predict on recovery time. I mean, this is injury, and we talked about it earlier. It was a little bit more severe than the average one is, and because of that, the timeline is a little bit longer. What is that timeline? I can't tell you.
And on a different question with regards to the offense and Carson, obviously going through each week, you're trying to progress. What's the thing after this last game you'd hope to see from the offense, both in practice and in the game? I don't know if they're going to starters will play, but what kind of progression are you looking for from the offense at this point?
Well, I'm thinking consistency now more than anything else. I mean, it's as we get to this stage of camp, now every time we get on the field, it should be very fluid. It should be very, very fluid. Everything they do should come naturally, and so you're looking for that consistency, the fluidity of play. And little mistakes, stuff like that, we can't have those. So as we get past this last game, that's going to be what we're looking for every time we practice and play.
With Chase, you guys obviously haven't set a timeline. Is it good for the rest of the players to kind of know he'll be out for the first 4 weeks, to know that that's the void for guys like Casey Tuhill and those guys to kind of fill, knowing it's not just a 1 week or 2 week thing?
Well, I would like to believe, that they approach it no matter what. They're always approaching that, hey, this is my chance, this is my opportunity. I got to go out there and play my best. But yeah, it does in the back of their minds. Yeah, this, if anything, this should signify minimum. I got 4 weeks. I got to go out and do what I got to do. And again, for however long he's out, yeah, those guys should realize and recognize this is their opportunity.
And back to Sonny, I'm curious kind of what your interactions were with Sonny, kind of as the guy around the team. And I know you're a broadcaster for a long time before now, and is it kind of a benefit to the organization as you're trying to rebrand to kind of go back and look at somebody like that who's part of a history?
Well, I think it's a benefit to the organization. Anytime you have an alum, especially a great former player, that you're acknowledging and recognizing for a couple of reasons. One, for us, it's important that our players understand what our history, what the tradition is all about. And whenever there's an opportunity to have a great player recognized, I think it should be something that our players should get caught up in. For the team, the community as a whole, it's the great memories, the great times that some of the great players had. I think it brings a little nostalgia to them.
I believe it's been 2 weeks since Curtis missed any sort of action. Are we still in the plan, or is the plan?
We're still ramping it up. His everything he does is monitored, and so as we go through these things, we want to continue and keep it going. I mean, it's one of those things that you talk about. Just because you found work doesn't mean stop looking for work, and I think that's what he's done. He's been very diligent with everything he needs to do. I know I check in with Al every day as to how things are, and we just continue to stick with everything we can with him, and he's done a great job.
This last preseason game, how much can it change your mind about a particular player or your vision for the initial 53?
I think it can impact it, just because now this is an opportunity for some of these young guys to get a chance to really be part of something, that they're getting prepped for. I mean, the way they're going to approach this, the way that, we're approaching this is a regular game week. Everything we've done in terms of meeting in the morning, practicing in the, like we are, and then meeting to review practice tape is everything that we do in the regular season. We'll get them out early, a lot earlier than normal if this was regular camp. And now it's on them. They got to take care of themselves. There'll be extra times to get extra treatment, the extra times to meet with your coach if you want, get some things answered, that type of stuff, because this is a very important game. It really is. And not everything is decided. I mean, there's still some spots that we are looking at, and how deep we can go at certain positions. We're discussing, at certain positions, how many guys are we going to keep, and that'll be impacted by how some guys play.
Now that you've wrapped up camp, nearing the end of preseason, which of the younger guys have really stood out to you this offseason? Three, I won't tell you.
Okay. There's been a number of them that have really shined. You can start with the tight end position. I mean, every one of those guys that we started off with really shined and did some really good things. I'll tell you, a young man that was really making strides was Eli Wolf, and unfortunately, he had the shoulder injury. So. But guys like that, that when they get an opportunity to take advantage and produce and perform, they'll get your eye. So like I said, the tight end position has been one of them that's really a guy that's really shined, but we've always kind of felt good about him is Dax Milne. I think Dax has played very well in both preseason games and has flashed in a lot of ways and has gotten our attention. He really has. And then Casey Toohill. Here's a guy that we picked up a couple of years ago, and all he's done is just improve, and his practice habits have been tremendous. So, really happy for guys like that. And in the secondary, there's a lot of guys that are competing a lot right now, and so that's going to come down. I think this game will impact some of the guys on in the secondary, to be honest.
Ron, you obviously pursued Wentz for a reason. You've now had him for an offseason and the bulk of a camp. Has anything surprised you that you didn't know about him? You've learned anything that's maybe interesting that you didn't know?
The one thing, and I kind of heard it, but to see it, he's very resilient. A lot of things just kind of go off his back. He's very hard on himself. He really is. He pushes himself, and you can see it. In meetings, you can see it. I mean, this is a young man who's very serious about his craft, and I think he's a guy that's driven. So it's been kind of fun watching him, and every now and then it's kind of neat to watch and see something positive that all of a sudden you go, okay, he's got that, and he takes a little bit of pride in those things.
Where has Percy Butler made some strides over the last couple weeks?
Watching Percy, it's more about his confidence. If you go back and you watch the first preseason game, I think the speed was a little bit of a surprise for him. In the second game, you saw him really settle in, and all of a sudden those little things that he was missing, he was getting. And so I think just understanding the speed of the game has probably been the biggest thing that I've seen in the last week.
What are those little things like? What are some little things that he would see just because he starts to get used to it?
Leverage, not getting out leverage. A lot of times if the game's a little bit faster for you and you're supposed to play a specific leverage, you're not anticipating that, and so all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're going from being inside leverage to outside leverage, and then the ball's thrown in front of you. And you say, hey, you're supposed to be an inside leverage guy. I'm an inside leverage guy. Now I'm anticipating his move because I get the speed. Now all of a sudden I feel the speed, I roll with the speed, and I take it out of the way.
Do you have any sort of an update? I don't know if they asked us earlier on Cole and then John Bates.
Other than they're doing pretty well, they're getting better each day. No, I don't have a timeline for those guys, but I will say so far everything I've been told has been positive. All righty, thank you guys.